Hello, everyone. Well, there's a couple of us here. Got a few minutes.
How you doing?
I'm going to keep my mute on because in a minute the buses are going to start to be called.
Hello, Julia. How are you doing? Hi, Katie.
We should probably give people a few more minutes, huh?
Yeah, sometimes, and we changed format to Zoom from GoToMeeting, so I'm assuming more people are familiar with Zoom anyway, but
Right.
now that we have new members, how many is a quorum at this point?
Okay. Well, we
We
should
have
have,
3 new members, and you know, Lorraine is no longer on, so
we need Will, right?
Will, well, the people aren't here. Ron, Will, Marie. Am I forgetting anyone?
I don't think so.
Ron, Will, and Marie. Correct?
Yes,
Our other new member is not here today, but she'll be here.
we don't have a quorum then.
We need one more person, yes?
We need one more. Plus, is Shameen are the new people
Yes, she
on
was appointed.
officially?
Appointed at the last council meeting.
Okay, great. Okay,
So she's official.
so the 3 of us and the 3 missing. Well, give me a few more
Correct.
minutes.
Yep.
You didn't hear from anybody, right? You all didn't hear the.
Just our newest member.
Well,
You know,
You didn't hear from Will or Marie, right?
no, unless Dorothy heard, I didn't hear any.
Uh-huh.
Playing around with the document here that isn't doing something that I want it to do. So while we wait, I'll just deal with that afterwards. So while we're waiting, do Shamim or Julia, do you have any questions for Ethel? Ethel is our chair.
Is there an agenda somewhere?
Did you not get a copy of it, Shamim?
Maybe I did. I'll
Should have
just
went
get-
with it should have gone with the invite.
Oh, on the calendar invite?
Yeah, If you
Okay.
open that up, that's
Okay.
there, the draft charge from the Committee on Committees.
To ride bus number
right.
12. Bus
Let-
12, please come. to
Let me
the
go
end.
ahead and mute again.
I just got word that Will not be joining this meeting.
Okay. No word from Marie
Not to my knowledge.
or Ron Baker.
Or Will?
Just Will.
She just said
Will
she
will
got,
not be
uh,
joining.
No, Will not. Okay, sorry about that.
she just
That's okay.
got word. And that's unusual for Marie not to RSVP.
Yeah.
And
We
that
haven't
sounds like it just came in with from Will.
Yeah, we haven't seen Ron in a while either.
No, I know. Jessica, can someone give Marie a call?
Sure, I can find her number. I don't have it handy, but I'm sure we can find it somewhere.
Yeah, I believe it's right in the My Senior Center.
What
If
is
you
Marie's
have-
last name?
Hackmiller.
Okay, I'll take.
Yeah, she does usually RSVP. Yeah, I'm not sure about Ron. He hasn't made the last, what, 2 meetings, right,
Yeah.
Ethel?
Yeah, he hasn't. I've seen her around town, but
Yeah, me too. Yeah, because we have some pretty important business on this committee, so.
yeah.
You know, if you had a chance to look at the charge, you know, it sounds like the council is really asking, you know, for not only more activity, but also I think they're really looking to, oh, there's
there's
Marie.
Marie.
Hi, Marie.
Good. We now have a quorum. Marie,
Oh, and Victoria's here too.
Marie, you're muted.
Hi, Victoria.
Hi, can you hear me?
Oh, hey,
I
Vicky.
can.
Yeah.
We can, yes. Can you hear us?
Yeah.
And Marie, you're muted, so we don't hear you.
Hi, Marie.
Now I'm not. I'm sorry, I'm
Okay.
late. I just had trouble getting in.
Not a problem. Well, now that we have
Now
a
we look
quorum,
like the Brady Bunch.
yeah. Now that we have a quorum, I'll call the meeting to order. So welcome, everybody. Should we introduce the new people, Pat? You want to do that or?
Sure, or we can go around and introduce ourselves too. I
Okay.
don't know, Ethel, if you want to.
Yeah, I'll start first. I'm Ethel Manzares and I'm Chair of the Advisory Committee. And I also Chair of the Youth Services Advisory Committee.
And everybody's squares may not be the same, but on mine, I'm second. I'm Pat Schneider. I'm the Director of Human Services in town.
I'm
Shalene,
Marie
I think you're
Hackmiller,
next.
and I'm just
Go
a
ahead.
general member of your community, and I've been active in Mansfield for a long time, although I currently live in Willimantic.
Okay.
Right, and Marie's been active at the senior center too. She's been one of our senior representatives.
I'm Victoria Nomorowski, and I am the director of Windermere Interfaith Ministry, and I'm also a Mansfield resident.
Okay, Shamim, do you want to?
Hi, I'm Shameen Patwa, the Director of Student Support Services for the Mansfield Public Schools. I'm here as a representative from MAC, and I am a resident of town as well.
Calling all students to ride bus number.
And she's got the track on all the buses that are happening right now. Julia, do you want to?
Sure. I'm Julia DeLapp. I live in Mansfield. I work at Eastern Connecticut State University. I'm the director of the Center for Early Childhood Education there, and my background is in social services advocacy.
Well, welcome, everybody.
And Julia was very instrumental in the playground project.
Oh, good.
So,
Neat.
Oh, wonderful.
yeah. And Katie?
I'm Katie Bell, she, her, hers. I am the youth services supervisor for the town of Mansfield, and I fill in for Pat when she is away.
Yes, she does.
And Jessica?
Hi, I'm Jessica Dewars. I'm here just as a staff member taking notes.
All right.
Good for you.
And Jessica also works right in the human service offices. She does tasks kind of cross department, but she does a lot of things for the senior center and social services.
Right, great. Okay, for those of us were at the last meeting, have you had a chance to look at the minutes? No, we didn't have a quorum last time, did we?
We didn't have a quorum last time, but this is so you would need to approve the minutes from the meeting before,
Okay,
which
So
was when
moved.
we evaluated the grants, the agency grants.
okay. You can I have
Moved.
Marie makes a motion.
Second,
Okay, I guess then we'll file the minutes as presented. Okay. So Pat, yes, you're next on the agenda.
Okay.
Yeah, Department.
I'll let Katie talk a little bit about what youth service is going on, particularly the juvenile, the youth diversion program that the town is currently looking at. So from a social service perspective, I just wanted to let you know that this is the last week for renters rebate. Friday will be the last day. Kathy Ann here in the office has been really busy doing that. One of the things we did note, and we've noted through the last couple of years, that program has decreased in numbers pretty substantially. And what we're assuming that is related to, because this is for low income seniors and disabled persons, is that affordability of rentals here in town for seniors and disabled persons of lower income, it's gone down. So, that's a pretty good indicator because that's who applies for that program. So we know that the student population has driven a lot of the rents in town up. So they've become they're a little less affordable for, families with children as well as seniors and disabled adults. So we have at least one more distribution of the Farms to Families program under the grant that we received from the State Department of Agriculture. We're looking for other options to fund this, as it's been highly successful. I think most of you know that this program both benefits local farms and low-income households by allowing us to purchase or help families and households purchase parts of shares of local farms, as well as distribution of up to 100 boxes several times a year of local produce. So again, this last one was local milk and eggs and apples and peaches. And, it just is such a wonderful program. We're hoping we can get the funding to continue it because it has been so popular and so helpful. Special thanks to the middle school who that helped us over the summertime with the distribution, and also the library, which is where we've had to move it to now that school is back in session. We are gearing up for our holiday giving program this year. Again, we're going to try to be as contactless as possible, as well as to allow as much personal choice and equity as we can by giving primarily gift certificates to families, which allows them to order things that they receive by mail or order them ahead of time and pick them up at stores as well. So that's what we will be doing. We did have a very successful back to school program don't know if Katie wants to talk a little bit more of that, but we had a number of low-income households that we helped with back to school supplies and shopping. And again, we did this through offering gift certificates to places that families chose. Currently with the CBDG CARES Act grant, we've helped another number of people with childcare costs, particularly summer camp this year. There were a number of programs that helped this year. So we had a very successful camp program, being able to use fee waiver, a special scholarship program that Parks and Recreation and Youth Services cooperatively applied for. Kudos to Katie. And as well as our own campership program this year. So lots of kids got to go to camp. So we're happy about that. The CBDG Community Cares Program also helped some with camp, but also with other childcare issues. And we're actually seeing it beef up more to help on food insecurity. We've got about 20 households on that right now. So, and that number is going up as well, which is great. That's federal dollars. That's going through our Department of Development, and we are working with them as partners on. Food share has now been moved back to the senior center due to schools opening. Again, it was really nice. E.O. Smith helped us out over the summer, which was great because of the volume. And as far as the senior center is concerned, we celebrated National Senior Center Month this past month. It's ended on a big celebration today where they raffled off. You didn't have to buy the tickets for people who participated in activities all month long, got tickets, and they raffled off 3 special themed gift baskets. So there are a lot of people in the parking lot waiting for that drawing today. And let's see, we're still awaiting our new van that we've ordered. It's gotten caught up in that whole issue that's out there right now with parts being available. So we're anxious to get that. I don't know how many of you know, but the town had some burglaries that happened, and the senior center van was one of the ones that was hit, where they went underneath and stole the Cadillac converter. So several public work vehicles were also hit. But that's back and running. We're getting more and more requests for medical transportation. We are recruiting for volunteers in that program, as well as kitchen volunteers and receptionist volunteers at the center. We are having, 3 drive-through meals in October. Those have been very popular. We do have our congregate meal site set up. We're doing Meals on Wheels. And then there's another program that for people who are not comfortable with coming back into the center that prior were on our congregate program. They're called grab and go meals. But what it is there's 5 days supply of frozen meals that we drop off at their household once a week, so that those people also who might have been dependent on a free and reduced cost main meal of the day that unfortunately didn't get that during COVID have been able to access food during this time. So, and that's actually taking a lot of times, because what used to be 2 programs is now kind of 4 different programs. So, which is much more time consuming. And we are again going to be doing our Veterans Celebration this next month. It's usually one of our biggest celebrations in the year, but we're going to do it drive-through again this year, just so that people can access it. We've had a lot of help with different organizations that come and kind of salute our vets as they drive through, and we do it up special for them. So we'll be doing that again. And Katie, do you want to update on what's going on with our restorative justice program?
Sure. Yeah. So youth services, our updates are we are back in business. We just finished our 4th volunteer orientation for our mentoring programs. So Cope and Big Friends will be getting started up again in the next week or 2, depending on which site and the holiday and professional development day. So really excited about that. I just sent off our local prevention council grant off to CRAC, and I anticipate that getting approved pretty quickly. And our Youth Service Bureau grant has already been sent off and we're waiting for official approval from them. So all of those things are in the works. And then the other big project that we have in the works that's been a few years in the works is back in February 2020, before the world kind of went upside down, Town Council had charged Youth Services and Human Services to develop a restorative justice-based model for youth diversion from the court system. So we have been able to build some partnerships and coalitions in the meantime, and have now been moving forward with that planning and that development. We had an update to Town Council on the agenda last Monday to give them an update where we had been having conversations with our new resident state trooper, Sergeant Stephen King, who's been very supportive of this creation, who is now our new town manager since prior to the charge with Ryan, who's been supportive as well. And then we've been able to be having conversations with E.O. Smith, whose Board of Education has issued a statement of support for the creation of a regionalized juvenile review board or youth diversion model program, as well as getting the support from Willington and Ashford, who have both taken it to their boards of selectmen, and their boards of selectmen has approved their youth service bureaus to move forward in putting efforts and staff hours and energy into this collaboration and coalition. So we did present these updates to Town Council on Monday, and the Town Council did approve us to move forward with the drafting of memorandums of agreements and things like that for that 3-town regional setup, since we are the 3 biggest districts that send into EO, and we are not yet supported by a youth diversion program. So a lot of the other districts that do send in already have access. So Columbia students have access through AHM Youth and Family, because that's their designated youth service bureau, and anybody who's coming in from Wyndham Willimantic through the agri-science program or other programs has access through the Wyndham Youth Service Bureau. So us 3 towns have been kind of trying to figure out how to make it work with the staffing that we have, and certainly when we had Kelly's position added, that allowed us the extra kind of staffing power to start looking at this approach. So we are getting a lot of steam and momentum behind us. We're really excited about it. Erica Bromley is the juvenile justice liaison to the services associations, and she's been very supportive in coaching myself and Jenny Arpin and Melissa McDonough through kind of the process of how do we create something, especially knowing that it is regional, and that makes it a little trickier than when it's not. But we are well spotted and well supported by our Youth Services Association, our local interservices, local intercommunity services team. So we've got a lot of folks who are giving us really good momentum to kind of keep the project moving and going, and we're really excited about where it's headed. I think we're anticipating hopefully having all of the ducks in a row this year. My fingers are crossed for January, because if we are up and running in January, that gives us a 6 month of being up and running, that then we would be eligible to apply for some additional funding for youth diversion programs who have been in existence for at least 6 months for the next grant cycle, which would be the July fiscal year. So if we're kind of up and in business and able to accept referrals starting in January, there's potential for additional funding that could come through that program.
Does anybody have any questions about the department?
Not a question. I just want to say congratulations. I think that whole movement has been a long time coming. It's really going to serve the kids in our community really well. As being a kid who's had a little bit of an experience with that and was fortunate to go through the AHM system, I'm hoping that the Mansfield your regional system here will model that in some way, because I thought it was really effective, and I'm just thrilled that we're going to have this in place for these young people. They need it.
Yeah, the great thing about having a regional and that's responsive to us and doing the MOU, some of this conversation happened at the council, is that we can adapt it to what works here with us. You know, what's going to work here might be very different than in the inner city or in a larger suburb. You know, so we're glad that this is going to be responsive to the needs right here in town. And then it's not going to preclude our kids from being, if they happen to get involved with get into an issue or situation with kids from the other two towns. As it is now, you know, if there's not a diversion program for all of the kids to go through, none of the kids can go through. So, you know, that's why the regional effort is important, and the other towns being on board, you know, is really significant.
So Pat, next meeting, could you attach your report and send it to us?
Sure,
Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Will do.
Yeah, I was
You want a
gonna ask
written
the same
report?
thing. I think it would really be
Sure.
great if we had written reports.
Yeah.
Sure, we can do that.
Okay, good. All right. Pat, budget update?
Budget update. The budget is, you know, we've been fully funded for this year, which we're excited about, and our grants are coming in, which we're excited about. As you know, the town is still looking at, and then we'll talk about that a little bit later with the American Recovery Act funds, and you know how those might also supplement some of the needs that we weren't expecting. For example, you know, we ended up having to purchase some HEPA filters and some other things to make our offices set up to do in-person interviews. You know, that was not budgeted separately in our department. So, you know, that stuff kind of is part of the discussion about that, those funds. So budgetarily, we're doing good. Facilities, we're doing good. Like I said, we've basically done all of the adaptations we need to have people coming into our building safely. And, you know, being very sensitive to what's going on now, because, you know, the worst thing that we can do is have something happen where we have to close everything down. So we put a lot of effort and thought and resources into making sure that happens. And again, capital, the big thing is waiting on the van to come in. So.
All right.
Oh, one other thing, I'm sorry. The town is also in the process of doing a building use study, more from a programmatic point of view, and the senior center building will be a big part of that. So I will keep you updated on how they have selected a vendor, which is the same vendor that actually is working with the new school design as well. So they're going to look at all town buildings.
Good. When might that happen?
Oh, they're at the town council meeting on Monday, they talked about, you know, the budget and maybe some of the adjustments to the budget they might have to make if there's some things that they want to add on. For example, do they want to talk about reuse of the schools and bring, you know, pay to have a real estate consultant come in to talk about values and, you know, possible selling or buying of properties. So that they're thinking it's going to be, what did they say, a 10-month process maybe.
Okay, well, good.
So
Let's hope it works out. Okay, next on the agenda is old business. Does anybody have any old business? If not, we'll move on to new business.
only old business that I have is the checks are going out for the regular budgeted agency grants over the
Okay,
next
good.
month.
Oh,
So
good. Good. So have you all had a chance to look at the review of the draft revised committee change from committee of committees or charge, I guess they're calling it? Have you all looked at that? It was sent along with the agenda. So what do you all think? Yeah. about that.
So are there any, what are we updated from? I don't know, like, is this?
So this is updated from a charge that was done. Let's see. It's the updated charge that was originally done a very long time ago.
Right.
So
So what exactly is different from the old charge and this charge?
So one of the things they made the decision or had some discussion about was, instead of identifying the membership by who you represent that is attached to the Human Service Department, they decided that really what you want is advocates from different areas. So instead of saying necessarily a representative from MAC, it could be an early childhood advocate or expert. And this opens it up to some members who don't maybe already serve on a committee or, that. So they basically, they're trying to get instead of identifying committees, they're trying to get consumers or experts in the different area. So that I can tell you.
That's, were there any changes with the roles and responsibilities? Because this is great. This is something that I've been looking for a
right.
long
And actually, they're really looking to this group to really not only, to talk to the town staff and the town manager, but the town council in advisement. So, and they may also send something over to the committee for, to study and advise on. So, they've really put a lot of thought into it.
This is really a lot of guidance that was not available, at least
in the original
for this.
Yeah.
I did have one comment on the membership piece, and maybe I'm missing something, but there's nothing that says specifically low income. So,
yeah.
I say, one advocate of consumer or consumer of services for low income persons or persons with low income or disabilities or something like that, because there's nothing,
Right.
if a person is a working poor person living in Mansfield who doesn't fall into any of these other qualities, there's no one.
Well, I know, I think what they were trying to do is make sure that slots don't stay vacant because you can't fill them with a specific role. And so they did talk about some of that, but up here it was more 2 members who advocate for consumers of education, health, and or safety services for youth and or the young. Basically what they were trying to consumers of affordable or workforce housing. You know what I mean? They were trying to make it the categories more generalized. So
I think it's a pretty general category, I think.
Pardon?
I don't know.
Yeah, you can recommend that, and what you would want to do is
a recommendation toward that end only.
Well, then you might have to take a look at which one it would replace.
Couldn't you?
Because it's a 9-member.
One for somewhere, affordable workforce housing, and one for low income.
Couldn't you put have somebody advocate for low income under the consumers, under the consumers for education, health, and or safety services, right? I mean,
No.
Or you could put down 2 members who are advocates for or consumers of affordable workforce housing.
Yeah.
Or, low, somehow, if anybody's got better wordsmithing on that.
I think my question is for
the word affordable.
Yeah.
But
I was going to say, did they specifically avoid using the phrase low income to avoid any
Right,
kind
identification.
of pejorative connotation?
Right,
So
like
were
in
they
other
trying
words,
to
affordable.
encompass that?
right.
affordable?
So for example, Victoria, you represent a population, you know what I mean? You work with a population of lower income individuals through your place, your place of employment. I think they were just maybe trying to avoid language that might seem derogatory and identify somebody in a way that might
Yes, I
feel
see what you're
derogatory.
saying, but I don't know.
But if you can think of a way to kind of word it. so that
I
at
would
the
like
end-
to think about it. It's hard for me to
Absolutely.
think on my feet.
Is it really that we're talking about access? Maybe something about,
It's, I guess,
yeah, go ahead.
I think what I just would like to make sure that it doesn't have to be me, but there's someone like me who works with
Right,
people who are very financially challenged that has a voice
Sure.
on this committee. That's what I'm
Sure.
looking for.
So I have a thought that maybe wordsmiths and recognizes Victoria's point that, you know, there is a lot of intersection and overlap in the third member line of advocates for consumers of
Right.
affordable or workforce housing. So if we kept one of those the same and then added an additional one, so like that becomes one member, and then we maybe wordsmith it to be one member who is an advocate for financial support services. And we're talking about the service that we're advocating for rather than identifying the individuals who have financial needs.
so could you put two members who are advocates for consumers of affordable or workforce housing and or
Other financial support services. I mean,
Other
I don't know
Other
if we're
financial
teasing
support
out
services.
housing and financial support services as two different things, because I know there is a very large specific focus on affordable housing with having done that recent study. So I don't know if they want to potentially have
Right,
them be
and
separate.
I mean, having been there, I'm going to tell you a little bit of the conversation because I said there are so many different areas. Transportation is huge. So do you put some, put something in where we have an expert, you know what I mean, or someone who works in transportation programs. They were, you know what I mean? They were kind of trying to figure out how best to pull it together so that you didn't so identify any one position that it might be hard to recruit for.
And limiting.
Which has
Yeah.
been one of the challenges, obviously, in getting people on some of the commissions and committees. I don't know, but it doesn't have to be resolved today. You're right, Victoria. I mean, it might be something that people should think about and maybe get back.
Yeah, I like Katie's suggestion. I'm not. Katie, why don't you and I put our heads together and come up with some language that maybe we can present? How's that sound? Okay.
A question for you, Pat. How are we doing getting somebody, a member for the persons with disabilities?
Yeah, that has been a
Trouble with that.
challenge. I know different people have been approached. So if anyone is thinking of someone who's a disability advocate or a parent of a child with a disability or, works in that area that might be interested. Katie, what were you?
My thinking immediately that comes to mind is Lisa Gerard of Favor CT. She is in the process of being appointed to the Youth Services Advisory Board. So she does a lot of supportive work in the eastern region of Connecticut, which is basically the entire right side of the state for those disability support networks. So she might potentially be a good resource for that. She's worked specifically with families and youth. So I don't know if that's potentially too small of a scope, but
Does she live in town?
She does not live in town.
See, I think what they're really looking for, because of the fact that this organization also acts as the kind of town grievance board for ADA complaints, they really would, I think, like to have someone that lives in town with that, experience or expertise.
I love the idea of having a parent. That's a great idea. And I could kind of see if I could reach out to some of the families that I know within the school system who might want to be part of that.
That'd be good. Yeah. Now, Marie?
Pat, I also think you need to look for a new senior representative since the Mansfield Senior Center Association no longer exists. And that
Right.
was really where I came from. And as much as I do everything in the town of Mansfield, I do not live in your town. And to
Right.
be on a grievance committee and not a resident of your town really is probably a little dicey.
Right.
So,
And-
you know,
and
I mean,
again- You know that Will's already on it, representing the senior center.
oh, he is now. So then really,
Yes.
you need to find somebody to replace me, which I will send you a letter of resignation because I do not live in your town. And I think when you read this is important that it be a resident of the town of Mansfield.
Hate
It
to lose
it
you,
actually
though.
doesn't say that, but
Oh.
if you look, it doesn't necessarily mention, I know that that's their preference, but they also want experts in certain area. And I know that you work in the area of the shelter and as well as.
And home
on some
care.
specialties. And healthcare, yeah. So, you know,
But-
if you feel called to not, I mean, that would be your,
Well, I just think it's fair to you that you have a town of Mansfield. There should be, I mean, yes, I work now more hours than I can tell you with the homeless shelter, with the family homeless shelter.
Right.
Particularly now that our executive director is leaving. So I'm very aware of your homeless population and its needs in every area that you can imagine, you know, from school to transportation to housing to food to whatever. I also I am on the board of Community Companions and Homemakers and have spent most of my life working in home care. So, you know, I can bring some expertise from that, but I am not in your
all right,
town.
my light's turning off here.
So
Is
I
that
don't,
too
you know,
soon?
something to
Marie, would you be
consider.
willing
I'm
to?
happy to serve, but I'm not sure it's an appropriate, I'm the
Okay.
appropriate person now that the Mansfield Senior Center, which was my attachment, has dissolved.
Would you be willing to stay on until we can come up with somebody else?
I would, Ethel, but I think it's important that we look at that seriously,
can,
just
yeah.
to be compliant.
Okay, we'll see. Okay, thank you. Hopefully we can figure something out, you know? Is there any other comments on the draft?
Yeah, sorry.
Go
Term,
ahead, no.
are terms outlined anywhere here? Like how often they are, 3-year terms? Where is that? I'm sorry. In the first paragraph?
Yeah, members
Oh,
are
there it
appointed
is.
by
The
that
middle
over 3-year
paragraph,
staggered term.
3-year staggered terms. And what time period is that, like from January to December, or when does that usually roll over?
This is actually the first time this charge, this is new in the charge.
Okay.
So, and it
think
says
that's
staggered, which would
specified.
mean half of them would be appointed up, you know.
Usually in the town of Mansfield, your terms have been based on your fiscal year, which is a July 1st, June 30th fiscal year.
So maybe we should put that somewhere in the body of this. I think it's good to be clear on when a term begins and it ends.
Yeah, it might be good to ask Sarah Ann Chain, actually, the town clerk's office, you know, time, because usually that would be something that would be set up, you know, through her office, how they would do staggered terms, so.
Yeah, if you can find out how they want to handle it, that would be good.
Okay, sure.
That'd be great, actually. Any other
You know,
comments?
one of the other changes you asked me was the committee will meet monthly. They're asking for more of a time commitment,
Oh,
And
so.
And I also, so these roles and responsibilities are new. I think that they're really nicely laid out. I would like some more time to look at this a little more clearly and just see how the process goes through to the, you know, to get to where we're going with this. Because like, for example, you know, an advisory role, what does that mean? You know, we can sort of tell you, yeah, we think you should put more funds into, I don't know, Dial-A-Ride or something. And, you know, and it can just, that's it. That's all, that begins and ends there. So, I don't know.
does it make sense to meet monthly, though? You know,
Yeah, and that's why I brought it up that right now, this committee meets has set up 5 meetings a year, and then they can call special meetings. That's the way it's been set up to this point. So, but that's,
Maybe you could get them to change that and make it,
so Ethel, I think they want you as the chair and even other members, if they're interested, to come back and talk to them about this at one of their meetings.
That would be great. I think
So,
one thing
yeah,
that
I mean, I'm sure they'd invite everybody if you were all interested, but even if a small group of you or Ethel had good notes about everybody's feelings on it, you know, because, you know, they can create the charge, but if the committee itself, you know, isn't kind of behind that. So I will say, over a next period of time, when I'm assuming that the American Recovery Program funds that are going to be allocated for human service needs, whether that's to outside agencies or in town, they're going to very much want this committee to weigh in on it and possibly, you know, review the applications that come through, at least on one level. So I think there's going to be more of a time commitment around that as well, just so you know. So, you know,
also
they're going to
think-
look to this committee as the experts on that.
Pat, if we had some sort of calendar around,
Mhm.
you know, like what needs to happen within one, you know, the full fiscal year. Like we know that
Mhm.
at one point we're going to do agency allocations and things like
Right.
that.
Right.
And it
Right.
might give a little more teeth to why it is that we would want to meet more regularly
Right.
or not want to meet more regularly.
Right. And I think, you know, again, because this is a charge from the council and their recommendation to the committee, from the Committee on Committees, that's why they'll want you there to talk, so you can hear what their, you know, thought is. They're doing with they're taking so many of these committees or commissions, you know, in a year and kind of reviewing the charges. That's kind of how this came up, and I think it was prioritized because with the American Recovery Program funds, and that's a substantial amount of money. So, so I know that I can say, though, if you put it here, then you will meet. You can always call special meetings.
right,
So, you know, it doesn't say you're only going to meet that many times. It means that you are guaranteed to meet, you know, if you have a quorum that many times, but you can always add special meetings.
okay. So Vicky, why don't you write up your concerns and maybe we can, you know, address them with the Committee on Committees.
Sure, and if you would want me to participate in that meeting,
Yes.
I'd actually like to hear what
That'd be
that's all about, to be honest
Okay.
with you.
Yeah, if you would, that'd be great, you know.
Sure.
Okay. Anybody else
I
want
can
to?
say there's been a lot of thought, and they're really, you know, they're looking for input from this committee.
I
And they've
think
been
this is
actively
great.
recruiting members, right, Julia?
Yeah.
They have been actively recruiting members because they think they think this is a very important committee. So,
Okay, good.
That's good. That's,
All right.
that's moving in the right direction.
Yeah, Katie?
I guess I just have a question, because one of the pieces that we didn't touch on, and maybe we already have someone who fills this role, is the advocate for consumer services for substance abuse prevention. Do we already have someone who is appointed to this board who would fill that slot, or is that something that we should also be looking into?
Yeah, we probably should.
that would be something.
Yeah, because we don't have one.
Right. And the thought behind that, Katie, was because Youth Service Advisory serves as the local prevention council.
Right.
So that was their thought on that.
So then my question would be, would it make sense to see if there's someone in that slot who would be an overlapper in the Youth Services Advisory Board, Or is this one where it doesn't necessarily require residency and maybe someone from CRAC would make sense to join, since they are our funding hub for all things substance use prevention and would have a lot more knowledge about
Right.
what's available?
I think they're good. Those are good questions for the committee on committee. You know, what they're looking for is residency, the big, or they, you know, or they want a mix of residents, consumers, and advocates and experts. That's a good question.
If they're looking, if that is a role in which the committee on committees would like expertise in, CRAC has expressed interest on numerous occasions to be involved in any boards that make sense. I know for Youth Service Advisory Board, there's actually not a slot that's allocated for them under our charge.
Right.
So this would be a potential opportunity for CRAC to be a member in sharing their expertise on a town committee. That could make sense. They would still be in that same situation that some of our members on this board already are, of having to abstain from agency grant voting when it is their organization represented. But that is not something that we're unfamiliar with doing in this committee.
Right. Right. I think that would be a question to ask.
Yeah, because I think you'd have difficulty finding somebody in town who would be an expert in substance abuse that wants to serve on the committee. You know?
You could. The
No,
more specific you
difficult to
get,
find,
the harder it can be to
Yeah.
find somebody.
Right, so. But we could check that out with them too.
Mhm.
All right, are there any further comments? There's public comments, but we don't have anybody from the public here, so I think we can skip that. I guess we could adjourn. Can I have a motion for adjournment?
Oh, no, there was one, wasn't there something about the Americans with, I just
Oh,
put
yeah,
that in.
right,
The American
The
Republic.
funding, the survey.
Right, so I
Right.
put the survey in just for you to get a brief overview about what areas can be funded.
Okay,
If you're interested, they did present at the 9/13 meeting, the findings of the survey. They're skewed, I guess is the best, way. I think there were some groups that maybe participated or advocated for participation a little bit more than others. So I think they're also going to be looking to do some focus groups, and we're asking for input on that. But again, I think this is something that's going to come back to this committee for input.
okay.
So,
We'll do that when they ask for it.
yeah, I almost think you need to be thinking about it, because
Oh, yeah.
I think the other thing they're going to do is they're going to ask about revisions to our agency grant application and how that might apply to these as well. So maybe your next meeting, you might want to take a look at those. I know we've talked about that. I know Victoria has really said, we need to take a look at that application.
Right.
But and again, that might be another ask of the committee on committees too, what's the thinking going on and how that will be. It's a lot of money. It's two things. It's a lot of money, but then it really isn't when you start talking about what you could do with it. So, but, grants to area agencies and how that might play out is another part of, of the conversation. So.
I think some of us have probably filled out the survey already. Because I remember seeing this survey come across, and I remember filling it out, so.
Good.
Yeah, Vicky?
What is the amount that we have in Mansfield in those funds?
Oh, $7.5 million.
Yes.
Just for Mansfield. Wow, that is.
Just for Mansfield, $7.5 million.
When does that money need to be spent by?
I think it's 2 years.
2 years.
Wow.
Huh. Okay.
So it's Mansfield got a healthy chunk of money. But again, with some of the projects they're talking about, 1 or 2 project type things could eat all of that money.
Yeah.
Too. So it just,
Well, we'll have to wait.
Well,
Yeah, Vicky?
I was just gonna say, whenever you're ready to redesign that application, you just let me know.
I'll work
And
with
if
you,
that-
Victoria.
I was gonna say that might be a good discussion, because believe it or not, those applications go out in December.
I know,
again
it's ridiculous.
next year.
I've been-
But also, they'll
Year.
probably be modeling whatever they send out for the American Recovery Program application. And we know they're not the best, but I'll be honest with you, it was funny when they put out a request for them. We're one of the only towns that actually has an application. And the other two that came in were modeled after this one. The other two towns, it's like they borrowed this application.
So maybe they'll
So-
borrow a new one
so
when we
you
come
know.
up with it too. Yeah.
They'll really be
Wow.
impressed.
Anyway.
Well, again, one that came in was from Simsbury, and that's where Maria went.
Yeah.
And the other was from Glastonbury, and that's where I was before I came. But I think Mansfield was the first. I didn't create that one in Mansfield, in Glastonbury. I think they borrowed it from Mansfield. So,
Well, before we adjourn, I just want to thank the new members for agreeing, Shameen and Julia, for agreeing to serve. Thank you very much, because it's been hard to get people. I'm glad you folks signed on. So,
Well, thanks. I'm glad to be here. It's obviously a learning curve for me, but
right.
Yeah. And I have to say, I'm trying to do this on our school committees, any committee that I'm chairing. It'd be nice to see some different color in the screen. So,
Absolutely.
I'll try my best,
Yeah.
but I think it's time that our committees in town have a little more diversity.
Yes, I would agree with you.
and actually, that was something that's not in here, but that was something that the Committee on Committee discussed as well.
Okay, well, that said, can I have a motion for adjournment, and we'll see you all in 3 months. So Vicky,
So
make
move. So wait, before we adjourn, I'm sorry. So we need to collect our thoughts on this draft.
yep,
When does the Committee on Committees need to get our feedback by?
They want it to be thoughtful. That's what I heard.
Okay.
But I can say if we're looking to change the agency grant application, that would definitely need to happen at our next meeting, which is it the beginning of September, October? It's
December
the
8th.
first week of December, I believe, yes.
Mhm.
Okay.
So, and that's
Also-
about when we usually send them out.
but
Right.
also the feedback with respect to the draft itself, like the wording and the committee responsibilities and this whole thing, when do they need our feedback on this by?
I think once you're ready to give it, they want it to be thoughtful. That's, because that's what I'm saying. It's because it's a change in a charge.
Okay.
So,
So if we submit everything prior to our next meeting, which is 3 months down the pike, is that going to be sufficient?
yes,
Okay,
they're looking for thoughtful feedback, but
okay,
the agency grant application probably, so I think I'll ask Dorothy to send that out to the committee members.
That would be great.
So, and I don't know, the other thing sometimes that happens is some of the committees create a work group
right.
to look at it and
Right.
bring it back with suggested revisions. So I don't know, Ethel, what you want to, or what all of you want to do with that.
well, I think if people have different things they want changed, can you just let me know, or let us know, let me know, or let Vicky know, because Vicky's going to be working on it. And if anybody else wants to work on it with us, that's fine too, more the merrier.
And actually, it'll be good to have some new people take, new eyes looking at it too.
Right, yeah,
So-
on the charge, and then, also on the grant. So what we could do is, if you have ideas, or changes you want to see, send them to me. And then we'll send them out to everybody to get consensus. How's that?
Right, or prior to the meeting, yeah, that would be great.
So if you could do it like within 30 days, let's
Um,
say, that'll give us time to get together.
My only concern with that is about doing committee work, not at a meeting, but
So
Um,
I would like to suggest that I would like to work. Is there anybody else other than me who's interested in working on the application?
I'll work on it with you, Vicky.
Okay, so what about Marie and I work on it together? We submit it to Ethel, and then we take it up, vote it up, down, whatever at the following meeting. Does that sound like a plan?
yeah, I think Ethel, you have to appoint them as a
Okay.
subcommittee.
All right, so we'll have subcommittees, we'll have two subcommittees. One on revising the charter, the charge. And I think Vicky, you said you would do that, and I could work with that. And does anyone else want to be on that committee? And
Katie, you're gonna work with me on language.
what?
So that means you're gonna be on the committee, right?
We'll do it, we'll do
Well,
it.
she
I
can't be
I
on the
am-
committee, but she can staff support the committee.
I can staff support the subcommittee for the draft
Charge.
charge.
Okay, so
good.
who else wants to be on that committee? It's not a lot. It's just
People
I
are,
think, did Ethel, you say you wanted to do it work
yeah,
on it too?
Vicky and I and anyone else that wants to join us on that particular committee.
okay.
So just let me know if you want to be on it, but for now, it's Vicky and I and Katie as the staff support. Now, in terms of the revising the grant application, I don't have any expertise in that, so I'll leave it up to Vicky and Marie and anybody else that wants to join with them.
Could you let us know now? Because I want to get this out of the way and done with. so
Yeah,
I
I mean,
can
I'd be
move on.
happy to help as a staff,
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So it'll be me.
Can you send us a copy of that application? So
I'm gonna ask Dorothy to send everybody a
Oh,
copy of
good,
that.
good, yeah.
Because then other people can get their thoughts.
Right.
And
absolutely.
I think some of the people who haven't seen it before might be like, oh my goodness.
And if
And
you,
send your thoughts to us so that we know. Yeah.
and if anybody else has it, once you see the grant application, if you have any changes you'd like to see made or any different ideas, let Vicky or Marie or Pat know.
Mhm.
You know,
Right, and I
incorporate
also
it.
will say that the council have been asking for some different changes as well. They'd like to see it more be an impact, like how is this helping Mansfield
Oh, okay, the
residents?
grants, yeah.
And some of those things that they sent out last year that they wanted us to talk about and rate.
Right.
Remember how they asked us to rate the, in
If you have,
priorities that
as
year?
well, Pat, if you could send
Okay,
that.
yeah, well, I should be able to dig that up.
Okay.
I have a FOIA question for you for our subcommittees. Because they are officially designated as subcommittees of the Human Services Advisory Board, are they subject to our recording, FOIA minutes, all that? Or are we creating work groups? And is work groups even a thing? I don't know the FOIA of it all.
I was gonna say, you can call them work groups because everybody can get, and it's coming back to the committee. Doesn't have to be subcommittees, because subcommittees
Okay.
are appointed and usually are standing.
Okay, so the work group work can happen without it being noticed and minutes,
Right.
et cetera.
Correct.
And then the work group can present to our larger advisory board, here's what we as a work group have done,
Right.
not through
Correct.
anything that's required, got FOIA
Right.
broadcast
Correct.
minutes
No,
stuff.
no, no.
Okay,
And that's what
Much
has
easier.
been done in other, with other groups, if it's like a one-shot deal thing you're working on,
Okay.
not a standing committee.
Question, the last email that we got, I guess from Dorothy, that has the entire group as it is on it, right? So I can get anybody's email address that is a member of this committee off of that email. Or maybe you can just send us out a list of emails.
So let me look at it and I'll be able to tell you if it's up to date.
It might be in your calendar invite. The list
It'll
of
be in your
people.
calendar invite.
It's like,
Oh,
is
no,
Ron
oh,
still
no,
on
it's
it?
not.
Is Ron Baker still on the committee?
Ron is still on
Yeah.
the committee. Yes, I sent everybody, didn't I ask Dorothy to send that out right in the initial email announcement?
I didn't get it. If there's a separate
I
list.
think I just
didn't
have
get
the Outlook.
There's no list.
Okay, all right.
I see everybody's email on the email sent by Dorothy with the
Dorothy, that's
agenda.
what I thought.
Yeah, it's
Not
all
the
there.
Outlook,
It's got
but
everybody's
it's on the
email.
email.
Yes, I think it would, yes. Okay, it's great that it's there.
It's there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Do you
Anyway,
see
yeah.
it, Victoria, on it?
I'm not looking, but if you say it's there, I believe you.
It
Well,
may be, Ethel, it
yeah,
may be
you're
on
on
a
it.
different
Yeah,
email.
Vicky's
It may
on
be
it, and Will, and
Okay,
everybody that I can see. Let's see. Lorraine's on it, but she's off the committee.
that might be an old list.
Yeah.
So I think we should have an updated list of committee members. It would be a good idea to have that somewhere.
Right,
Yeah.
That we all have.
okay, so Jessica, can you talk with Dorothy about that, about getting that and then sending it out to everybody? Because I know when I talked to her, she was checking, because one of the things I asked her, Shamima, whether your work email or your home email, like, you know, what is the preferred contact for some people? Because you might have listed on your application, your home and that, but you may prefer to get the emails in your work. So that's the kind of thing that I think she was checking on. So we should probably get that list out to everybody.
But
Yes,
that
if you would.
everybody is on that list that Dorothy sent the email to everybody with the agenda. Has everybody that's in this meeting now, plus Will, are on that list, as well as Lorraine, who shouldn't be on the list.
Shouldn't be on the list, right?
So
So
we have all the address.
Rob Akers, yeah, I thought she was removed, but
Yeah,
it could be she just got left on.
all right, awesome.
okay, so, I mean, if you want to send out a new one, but make sure everybody's, you know.
Well, it would be good to send it out just to make
You know,
sure
have,
that everybody, that's the contact information
Yeah.
everybody wants us to use.
Yeah, that'll be good.
Mhm,
Okay,
okay.
is there anything else? So how about a motion for adjournment then? And thank you to the new people. But anyway, can I have a motion?
I think we had a motion on the floor.
Yeah, yeah, and then Maria seconded it. Okay, all those in favor of adjournment?
Aye.
All right.
Oh,
Hey,
and
thank
by
you.
the way,
Thank you, everybody, and see you.
Billy, Ethel calls me Vicky because she's known me for like 30 years. My name's Victoria.
Victoria, yes, it is. Yeah.
Clear to everyone.
And she has Victoria right on her, you know, on her Zoom too, not Vicky.
I know, but I can't get used to calling her Victoria, so it's gonna be Vicky. All righty.
And it
everybody.
is a hard
Thank you.
change to
Enjoy the next
make.
few months, huh? Yeah, so we'll see
Okay.
everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.